Okay, now we look like we're having a meeting, and welcome everybody to the Residents Council meeting for September. This is September 21st. I'm Peter Shapiro, President, and we'll get started. We have a slight change in the batting order, actually a major change in the batting order. Mike Ostrom, our fearless executive, has requested to start at the beginning, and so I've put him hitting in the number one position instead of cleanup. So Mike, it's all yours.
Great, thanks. Well, I think the reason I'm up front is I'm most likely to hit all the foul balls, and I like to get those out of the way early so the real batters can get up here and swing for the fence.
Oh, Mike, I already made my share. And there was actually 3 bunts in a row, so I'm out.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe, Peter, you and I can go out for a beer and talk about how we can improve our game.
Okay, it's a date. Absolutely.
All right. Well, a few things. One is, cover some bright spots. We had a good Labor Day picnic. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I think we had good weather and good food. And, whenever we can get those events where we can get together, it's always a good thing. And, sometimes they're fleeting and far between, but I appreciate that we've been able to do it and people have been really interested in wanting to attend. We welcomed a new wellness director, Ryan Schuler. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him, but wow, what a nice guy. I mean, really, just a really fine guy. And that's not to take away anything from Matt Morris. He was terrific too, but I consider ourselves really fortunate to have somebody of Ryan's caliber here and just a really fine young man. Last week, of course, was Retirement Community Week, and we did our best to have our events and activities that are commensurate with what we usually do during Retirement Week. It's always more fun when it's just, the place is crowded and open and we have lots of people milling around, but I think we did a pretty good job in the meantime, and hopefully staff felt appreciated and you had a chance to witness some of the shenanigans and make it a little bit of fun. A reminder is I want to make sure that everyone, when you're out and about and you're not eating, to wear your masks. It's not really as controversial as some might make it seem. They do the job and even if you're vaccinated, which most people are, it's really important to wear your mask when you are out and about, and keep the social distancing. Just play it smart, and let's just do everything we can to stall off any more virus action in the community. You'll hear me talking about this. Maybe I'll sound like a broken record because I'll bring it up again in a little bit more detail at the Fireside Chat. But there's a nationwide staffing challenge, and it's really hard to get a grip on exactly what that is. Is this a paradigm shift where workers are taking a very different view of work in their life and who they work for, how they go about it? Or is this a transitory thing that will go away? It doesn't seem very transitory. This kind of started when I first started work, some nearly 40 years ago, where the momentum was, seemed very equal between employers and employees. And then there began this gradual shift, whether it was the loss of the pensions or whatever, but there was a shift towards employers more and more, which benefited a lot of companies and their bottom line, but it also changed the nature of the contract with employees. And we may have just reached that point where the pendulum has swung too far. And now it's all about, you need to make your environment really employee friendly. I would say in our industry and in Horizon House in particular, we already do that, but it's going to be called upon us even more so to do it. And trust me, it's more than money. Certainly money plays a role, but that's really the least of our concerns in developing those relationships that keep people here for a long time. So we'll keep hearing more about that, and assume good intent, acknowledge good work. Doesn't mean you shouldn't bring up issues and problems. Just bring them up in really good ways that allow us to solve the problem and not disadvantage anyone in the process. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at the memo that was delivered on September 10th that talked about master planning. I just briefly tried to distinguish between those two activities and also give a little time frame as to when we'd be having those conversations. So in the next week or so, we'll say specifically when we'll begin to have some of those meetings on master planning and start to share the details so that you can engage and and chime in with your likes and your dislikes, and begin to kind of get used to what that might be about. Your input is always important. And it doesn't mean that we run with every idea, but we do run with a lot of them. So we expect and assume you'll have thoughtful comments when that time comes, and it's just around the corner. We also had last week an announcement that you saw about reorganizing some of our departments, specifically the front desk area that Risa will now be in charge of. And then also, rather than having communication be something that is, is handled by many different people and kind of shifting a lot of duties around, internal communications is so critical. And certainly the communication committee has highlighted lots of things that haven't worked as they should, and an example of us listening and wanting to do it differently. So we are on the march to find a communication manager who will be able to assess our channels of communication, our priorities, what should go in each channel, and to manage content and to have a good editorial focus so that we get good, accurate, timely, effective, and actionable communication. It's always going to be a challenge in our environment for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is we have lots of people who like communication received in different ways. We're not going to go to the carrier pigeon to have delivery outside of each person's stoop, but there are different methods for different people, and you try to find that balance. So we hope that this next, the remainder of this year and into next year, we'll do a much better job. And you will be the judge of that. It's not up to me to say the communications are good. If it's not effective, timely, accurate, and actionable, then you're going to chime in and say there's something missing, and we're going to have to drill down and make sure we fix that. So hopefully that we'll be able to find people for those roles, a communication manager, and it won't be easy because, like I said, labor is tight. Let's see, last on my little list here is just, I do put out a CEO monthly report. It's our way of being transparent about our finances, being honest about what we're doing, what's going well, what's not, a little bit of key facts and figures. It's not something that you have to, study with a fine-tooth comb, but, it's something that a lot of communities don't do, and we do it, and we want you to be informed so that you make your judgments about what you think, how things are going, and you have a good source of not misinformation, but accurate information. We don't want social media to drive your points of view. We want the real information to drive your points of view. So take advantage of that as you're able. And let's see, the next is Fireside Chat will be coming up here on Friday, the 24th, and we look forward to, this will be a Zoom one. We look forward to more online or in-person ones in the future as soon as we can do that. But we'll have, I think this one's going to be a hybrid where we'll do a little bit like we did last time for the June one or the July one, where it was some in person and some online. But eventually we would like it to be all in person. That's it, Mr. President.
Well, excellent, Mike. Let me ask a question about the Fireside Chat. Are we going to have a Thursday morning Zoom meeting for the panelists?
I will confirm that. I know that's helpful and no reason why we can't.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, and have a good day.
All righty. Thank you all.
Okay. Okay, next up, a series of actions we need to do to maintain our business license and our good standing with Uncle Sam and anybody else who cares. And the first part of that is to approve or deal with the August minutes. And so Connie Hillier, would you please take us through that?
Yes, the August minutes have been circulating among members of the council and are now being submitted for your approval.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve? And if you're speaking it, you have to unmute.
I so move.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Audrey. So all those in favor signify by voice, but also by hand, so you don't have to necessarily turn your microphones back on. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you very much, Connie, for your good work. Excellent work. Okay, we'll move on to the August financial report. Yes, okay, here we go. Diane, you're on. And you may need to unmute. Diane? We're not connecting with Diane by voice.
The figures for August are on the board. And you see that we had a net income of $455 for the month, a nice month. And for the year to date, we have a profit of $1,528. These figures are better than we had estimated. A lot of committees are not spending all their money, but I'm happy with the results for the year to date. The Residents Council announced last month that we were opening our budget process for mid-year revisions. And we asked for committees who would like more funds to submit a request. The budget committee met and approved the requests that you see for a total of $4,835. One of our main rationales for asking for increased funds was to be able to present more programs and events to the residents now that things are opening again. So our total projected loss at the new budget is $37,000 loss, but I do not believe that we will have that loss. As I stated before, many of the committees are not able to spend their budgets because they cannot have the events that were planned. So we are in good shape for the year. Thank you.
Yes, I think so, Diane. I agree with you. And just to remind people and to tell people who haven't heard about this before, the prior councils had the foresight to create a contingency fund so that we could operate even with a loss of revenue due to whatever. As for example, we were starting to lose revenue when Monday Market shut down for the COVID. So we're really in good shape. We wanted to, as Diane said, encourage committees that were able to present programs not to be held back by money since we were able to afford it. And so this is the result, and we look forward to all your additional programs, those of you who will be presenting those. Thank you very much for that in advance. Okay, so next, Monday Market Report, Cami Elbow, and we should be talking for herself and for Susan Barish.
Hi. So let's see. August, the good news in August was there were 5 Mondays. The bad news was that we were closed for 2 of them. So our income in August went down. It's sweet of Diane to call it a nice month, but it was a little slim for us. But then the first week of September, when we opened, everybody came and everybody shopped. So we made up a lot of that. We are still holding at an average weekly income of about $1,100, which is more or less what we've had. We've gone above that sometimes, but we haven't gone much below it. So we're satisfied with that. The best news for us right now is that guests are once again allowed into the Monday Market, not the general public. Nobody can walk in off the street and just go to the Monday Market. But if residents want to bring their family, their friends, their grandchildren, especially their grandchildren who are getting new apartments and shopping for apartments, that would be great. I'll tell you one thing. A week ago, before we could have guests, there was a young man who looked like a grandson to me, and he was in the Monday Market, and I went up to him. I was about to say, "I'm so sorry you can't be here." It turned out he had a label on, and he was Ryan, the new head for homeless. I almost threw him out, but luckily I stopped in time. We would like to thank Horizon House and especially Ramon, for doing 2 major improvements in the Monday Market during the weeks we were closed. Ramon rebuilt the whole cashier area under their counter. So there's deep drawers now, and there's a drawer that slides out from the side so that the person wrapping up the what you buy doesn't have to put the bag all the way up on top of the counter. It can be down low the way the grocery store has it, and it's much more convenient. So he did a beautiful job on that. And the other thing is that in the women's dressing room, you may have noticed that the sliding doors on the dressing room were completely non-functional. They didn't work. They were flopping around. They got stuck. And Ramon has replaced them now. So we now have beautifully easy sliding white doors in the women's clothing area dressing room. So things are going quite well. And we hope to see you and your children and your grandchildren and your friends next Monday, which will be clearance day for us.
That's an excellent report, Cammie. Boy, I heard about that first Monday after you were closed for a week or two, and it sounded like a really fun zoo.
It was a zoo.
That's great. I mean, the money market is such a vital part in so many ways, not just the money, but the camaraderie of the people who work there, the opportunity for folks to visit with their neighbors as they're shopping around for wonderful bargains and so on. So I'd like to remind people that there are opportunities to volunteer there. Give it a try. Cammie will treat you very well. I know that. And if you continue on, she'll definitely treat you very well. So give it some thought. Speak to Cammie or Susan about the opportunities there. Appreciate that. Okay, next I will call on Judy Ostro, who is the coordinator for a number of committees, one of which is the Election Forums Committee. And Judy, you have the floor. Unmute yourself. You still need to have you unmute.
Okay, here I am, right?
That's fine. You saw
Okay.
you saw the way I bungled the opening. Don't worry.
Well, we all know, we should know that election season is definitely upon us. And here at Horizon House, the election forums are a long-standing and important tradition here. Candidates are eager to accept our invitation to speak, as we are a well-informed, consistent voting population, and we ask meaningful, insightful questions. So bravo to us. If you have questions for the candidates, you may submit them to Doris Ray and her committee, but be aware the deadline is at noon on this coming Thursday. The Elections Forums Committee, under the dedicated leadership of co-chairs Neil McReynolds and Laura Weiss, have managed the challenging job of contacting candidates and working with their demanding speaking schedules, as they have many requests to speak. Our candidate forums this year will be virtual rather than live presentations. And the schedule is on page 9 of this week's alert.
And on the screen.
Well, yes, that should be obvious to all.
Okay.
If you don't write it down fast enough, you look on your page 9 of the alert, and you will see that the schedule of these various forums. Okay, that's it.
So the forums, just to repeat, will be by webinar, not in Anderson Hall. The Anderson Hall capacity, of course, is greatly reduced. Another factor, a major factor, was that the candidates, for the most part, if not all, preferred not to come into another environment, but appear remotely by the Zoom technology that we have. So that's what's going to be happening. And maybe next year we'll be back to a more traditional way of doing things. So thank you very much, Judy.
So thanks Neil and Laura and their committee, because it was really a challenging job to get all these candidates fitted into their and our schedule. So bravo for them.
It's a wonderful committee. I served on it last year. I was a little too busy to do it this year, but it's really a great group of people. They are so dedicated. They love their jobs. They continue on year after year, and it's a great tradition for us here at Horizon House. Okay, we will now turn to the Employee Recognition Fund, Elizabeth Hoover. This is our opportunity to show in a tangible way our appreciation, which I hope we all do as often as possible in a direct conversational way. But now this is the opportunity to pay off for and express your thanks that way. So Elizabeth, please present about the Recognition Fund.
I'm confident that at times you and I have wished we could express our gratitude in a meaningful way to an employee for making our lives pleasant and stress-free here at Horizon House. And during the year, we're permitted to fill out bright spot cards for staff members who help us with a difficult task or a problem, but that's it. Well, the time's here when we can tangibly recognize our employees for their efforts on our behalf by showing our appreciation in a more substantial way. Each year at this time, the Residents Council provides the opportunity for all residents of Horizon House to convey a huge collective thank you to our employees. And all of us are invited to make contributions to the Employee Recognition Fund, or the ERF as we call it. To start this year's drive, you'll be pleased to know that every member of your Residents Council has just made his or her own personal monetary contribution for 100% participation. The ERF Drive is brief. It's only 6 weeks. It begins October 1 and ends November 15. Every cent donated to the ERF goes to the employees, and every eligible employee is presented with a gift check in December at the annual party that we arrange for them. Management and party costs are covered by the council's general fund. So on October 1, detailed letters outlining the drive will be in your copies in the mailroom. Please prepare now, especially if you're planning to draw on your IRA or other account, because those transactions take time. And here's some advice. If you do not receive an acknowledgement after having made a withdrawal from a retirement account, please let us know, because as wealth management companies or banks prepare these and send these checks out, they do not always include the name of the donor. Another suggestion, if you have made a donation this year and you've not received an acknowledgement from us, please let me know, because we have even one unidentifiable case pending right now. And one more thing, if when you receive our ERF appeal letter in your copy next Friday, you've already made a donation, please disregard that duplication. So during this competitive period to attract employees, we especially want to encourage and retain those we have and value. Again, we're all in this together as we sprint for the goal to thank our employees generously this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you all colleagues for your participation. I'm so happy that we're 100%. I never doubted it, but it's good to get it off, kick off the campaign with that kind of spirit, and that's wonderful. Okay, so we're in a campaign season, and the resident council is not immune. Next monthly meeting, October 19th, there'll be an election of new resident council members. And here to tell us about that is the Nominations Committee Chair, who has done a spectacular job, Dick Clark. Go ahead, Dick.
Thank you, Peter. It's been my pleasure and challenge to do the job of nominating, finding nominations for Residence Council. The committee was filled with Ruth Iller and Patty Flowers, Karen Gillum and Don Mayer, and they did a wonderful job.
I'm going to put that up on the screen just a
Okay,
second.
I'm ahead of you, Peter.
Well, I'm behind you. I'm always behind you. Okay. This shows the great rehearsal time we had. Okay, here we go. We can, so people can see them, we catch the names for sure. Okay.
Here we are. That was the team that worked with me, worked diligently, stayed on task, and I'm very pleased to be a part of that team. The council this time had to fill more than 5 spots because we're losing Mary Ann Anderson, Susan Corning, George Counts, and Peter Shapiro, and Audrey Whitecamp. But we have the death of Frank, and we've got Jennifer Stucker going to Monday Market. So we had 2 temporary positions that the nominating committee had to deal with besides the 5 usual ones. And I'm not sure where the slide is on this, Peter, but I'll keep talking because the
I got the 5 regular ones, not the ones that
Okay.
are in the
as
slide.
per our bylaws, the nominating committee is responsible for finding and nominating the approval of temporary appointments for spots that are vacant for less than the 3-year period. So we are fortunate to have Joan, come on, Dick, Browers, to fill in the 2-year position that's left with Jennifer leaving. And we have Nancy Cope filling the 1 year left from Frank's death. So with those 2 great people joining us for 1 and 2 years, then we went ahead to find the other 5 people. So I'll present to you at this time the nominations that have been made and have been put forth to the council. Wilson Fowler, Fran Mercer, Deanna Nelson, Nancy Olson, and Sally Wren. Now, normally, if we were to meet in person, we would also take nominations from the floor, should there be some. I believe the way we are set up now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Peter or Audrey, you will have a chance to write in a nomination that you don't see there if you feel you would so like to do so. But please make sure that the person you're nominating has already said, yes, they would love to serve.
So Dick, I will defer as well to Audrey, who in her segment at the end of the program will be going through the details of the
Okay.
process, since we will not be meeting in person.
All right. And I will just add one more thing. I'm finishing my 2nd year on the council. I don't know whether anybody nominated me because I nominated myself. And that's not because my ego is that big. I just wanted to be a part of this body that is helping us do so many wonderful things at Horizon House. So as you look forward to next year, when it's going to come up again, think about the fact that you could be a part of the group that helps see that our programs keep going and new programs get added. And don't be afraid to throw your hat into the ring. But I do appreciate the chance I had to get these 5 nominees, and I present them to you now.
And you can see their pictures. Thanks to Zoe Shumway, posted in the mailroom. You can read about them in the HH Connect page. If you want to look at their bios, that's another good thing for you to do. So thank you, Dick. You did stellar work under difficult circumstances. Everybody's been forced to deal with the COVID, and it affects everything that we do, and you came through with stellar work. So thanks again. So now, I expect that just about everybody on the call and watching on television saw this headline on Sunday, New York, Seattle Times, above the fold, lead story, the pain of loneliness. Well, Nancy McReynolds had already asked me for a spot to talk about this very subject. And it was not prompted by this headline, but this headline talks about it as being something that is certainly not unique to Horizon House, but we should be paying attention to its presence in Horizon House. And I sure hope I held up the headline so you could see it. Did I do okay? Okay, so I will introduce. Yes, I'll introduce Nancy McReynolds. Talk about a program that I believe she started last spring that she calls Friend to Friend. So Nancy, it's your opportunity to talk about that, and look forward to hearing you.
Thank you, Peter. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I think I can say without exception, each one of us has been impacted by the pandemic in one way or another. We feel isolated, fearful, and most recently, angry. For some residents at Horizon House, the impact has been even more profound. Those among us who are living alone, are sight or hearing impaired, who have limited mobility or multiple health issues, or who have lost loved ones during the past year and a half may be suffering the most. Last winter, we started a program which we called Friend to Friend. The purpose of this program is to match residents who are feeling isolated with another resident who is eager to reach out and make a new friend. As a result, between 50 and 75 new friendships have been found. However, I fear that we have only reached the tip of the iceberg. There is still work to be done. Although we are grateful to our administration for keeping us safe, for those committees that have been creative in providing us with meaningful and entertaining programs via Zoom and HH2TV, and for all those residents who have strictly abided by the rules, we still miss the social interaction. Let's face it, we're social creatures. What we have missed the most are face-to-face conversations, handshakes and hugs, sharing a meal, and the freedom to move about our campus without analyzing our every move. Fortunately, some restrictions have lifted, and there is a feeling of hopefulness at Horizon House. However, there are residents who have been isolated for so long that they are unable to resume the life they lived before the pandemic. I am asking you to look around and see who might be in need of encouragement. You could begin with those folks who live on your floor. Is there someone who never or seldom leaves their apartment? How about the people you see in the elevator? Are there people sitting by themselves in the Fireside Lounge? How about our friends in assisted living? Is there someone there you could phone, visit, you need to make an appointment, or send notes to? Do you know of someone you just haven't seen out and about? And don't forget about our new residents. They are experiencing a whole set of challenges. If each of us would make one contact, what a difference we could make. If you become aware of someone at Horizon House who is in need of special attention, please either phone me, Nancy McReynolds, at 2450, one of our spiritual associates, or Erica Cunningham Care Connector at 3133. We are not a retirement facility. We are a retirement community. There's a huge difference. Being part of a community comes with responsibility. We are in this together, and it is our duty to look out for each other. This is a call to action. Thank you for listening, and thank you for reaching out to your neighbors.
Oh, excellent. Excellent, Nancy. Thank you so much. Reminding us of what we knew and giving us hints about other things we hadn't thought about. So let's all get to work and do that and prove us to be the kind of caring community we know we are by doing this work. Thanks again, Nancy. So now George Counts is off today, and I have the pleasure, as soon as I do it, of introducing the two spotlight programs. Here we go. We'll be hearing from the Communications Committee with Bonnie Miller presenting, and bear in mind what Mike said about at the very beginning in his report about the changes that will be coming to the communications area. So Bonnie Miller will be first, and then the Wellness Committee. And you've heard about our new director, Ryan, and Susan Shaw will take us through some of the things that have been happening and some of the things that are coming up. So I will just turn it over right now to Bonnie Miller, and thank you very much in advance.
Well, thank you and good afternoon. I share the chair of the Communication Committee with Sam Sperry, who is a new arrival to Horizon House. He brings with him experience in communication, and we are fortunate to have him for a neighbor and a volunteer on this committee. The Communication Committee is tasked by the Residents Council to serve as a liaison committee. As such, we serve as a conduit for information from staff to residents and provide feedback from residents to staff. The 20-member committee is to provide information and feedback to management and staff in a collaborative and timely fashion. Our common interest is to make all communication accurate, timely, and consistent across all platforms. The importance of clear communication within our walls became exceedingly evident when staff and residents formed a response team to our lives turned upside down with the advent of the pandemic. We received excellent information from our COVID team. Other departments stepped up their game. Wellness staff quickly and professionally videotaped multiple exercise sessions for viewing on both HHTV and YouTube. Committees adapted new strategies to keep us safe in the library and our access of the B2 workshops. Other committees became proficient in Zooming and videotaping for replay on HHTV. The communication department was a center of information for residents on a myriad of requests as Instacarts filled our lobby and the health check became the first stop upon entering Horizon House. In the recent past, a major accomplishment was achieved when a new committee fostered and activated by this committee was created, the Low Vision Hearing Challenge. With the leadership of this committee, the elevator signs were designed to serve all residents. A second new committee was supported and formed by the Communication Committee to provide technical support for residents and feedback to IT and communication departments concerning the 4K app, as well as providing individual service to all levels of technical ability among our residents. With communications going digital, we strive to provide each resident with the appropriate medium for communication. The recent customer satisfaction survey is disconcerting. Residents indicate that there is a failure to get information that is accurate and effective, and that staff and residents display a lack of collaboration. To address these issues, the Communication Committee established a subcommittee to collaborate with staff on problems. The subcommittee will report to the full committee recommended actions to ensure that future communications are timely, accurate, and consistent. A major concern is that our population requires diversity in communication methodology. Some residents are technically proficient, some not so much. Some are affected by physical limitations. Some do not have a computer. There is a need to continue the option of paper delivery of communication. The importance of communicating on paper will remain critical in some areas and for some residents. To achieve the goals of accurate, timely information, as well as messaging consistently over multiple devices, a closer collaboration with the communication department is necessary. We are aware of the shortage of staff in this department and advocate for increased staffing. We learned recently that there is a new position of communication manager and the job description has been released. This is a step in the right direction. We anticipate that vacancies will be filled, the possibility of additional staffing to support improved communication and to support the move to digital distribution of information will do much to make the goals achievable. Going forward, our purpose is to make certain that technology is the servant of effective communication and not that communication becomes the servant of technology. Thank you.
Oh, excellent summary, Bonnie. You know, and what you said about people not having computers, for example, at the very beginning of the pandemic, I remember there was one resident who didn't have a TV. So there was absolutely no way for that person to see programs, to hear programs, to participate in any way. And this ties together with what Nancy McReynolds was saying about friend to friend. One of her neighbors knew about that, went out of the way and went about finding a television set for this resident. It's something that we do. It's something we do when it's necessary to do it. So thank you very, very much. Excellent report. We just now introduce again Susan Shaw to give the Wellness Committee, and she has a slideshow and I'm looking forward to her running it. So go ahead, Susan.
I want this, right? Oh, okay, yes. I think you weren't there. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share what's happening with the Wellness Committee. This is who we are, and I have the privilege to chair this enthusiastic group. They bring a diversity of interests and all are committed to the promotion of wellness for the Horizon House community. This is what we do. As the Residence Council program book states, we are ambassadors for the Horizon House Wellness Program. All of us on the Wellness Committee are proud to work with a department that has demonstrated amazing flexibility and dedication by offering appointments 7 days a week over much of this past year. Today, I'd like to share with you a little bit about what we've accomplished this year and quickly go over some of the challenges we've had. But I'd like to spend most of my time talking about what's next. So far this year, we've co-sponsored events with 4 different groups, including the newly formed Low Vision Hearing Challenge Committee. We worked with the Neighborhoods Committee, the Friend to Friend group, and the String-alongs to sponsor Seattle's Neighbor Day. We helped get the Memory Cafe back up and running, and the committee recently chose to support the ongoing activity of this important program. The pandemic has been a challenge for all of us. We did pretty well with our Zoom meetings, thanks to the tech support of Alice Melanie. In fact, she's right here at my side at this very moment. And thank you so much. Canceling and rescheduling meetings and events have made Hunter my new best friend. And in fact, we did some rescheduling just this morning when we moved tomorrow's health fair indoors to Anderson Hall. We didn't plan for leadership changes in the wellness department, but it has been a smooth transition thanks to the hard work of the wellness staff. We're all looking forward to working closely with our new wellness director, Ryan Schuler. In fact, you can meet Ryan tomorrow morning at the Fall Prevention Health Fair, if you haven't already. He'll be around, and if you haven't connected with him, please take time to welcome Ryan to Horizon House. We're joining the National Council on Aging and celebrating the first day of fall with fall prevention activities. We'll have booths set up with information about what you can do to prevent falling. Be sure to get your drawing tickets and enter for prizes, including a pedicure from the generous staff of the Parkview Salon, a $50 gift card from Safeway, or a massage with Lara. Start your day at 9:30 with a chair exercise class with Margaret. That'll be open to all levels of fitness. At 10:30, Brian Carr will lead his Tai Chi students in a demonstration of this evidence-based activity for maintaining balance. In October, we're working with Low Vision Hearing Challenge Committee again to present a 4-session series on sensory and cognitive challenges of aging. These talks will be held in Anderson Hall on Thursday afternoons. Thomas Grabowski, Dr. Grabowski, the medical director for UW's Memory and Brain Wellness Center, will be kicking off the series on October 7th. In early November, the End of Life Washington group will be sending a speaker to talk about our options for medical aid in dying. Often when people attend these discussions, they walk away saying, I wish my family had heard this. And so we're going to try to create a space for that to happen by offering a Zoom session a week later that will be open to those who have pre-registered, have participated in the first session, and then pre-registered for the Zoom meeting a week later. And that'll be open not only to families, but to healthcare agents. You can watch the alert for details on all of these events coming up this fall. And thank you to the Residents Council for this time in the spotlight.
Thank you, Sue.
All right.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. And I sure learned a lot. And this is quite a lineup you have. You know, and
Thank you.
yes, just spectacular work.
Very good. And I'll see you all tomorrow morning in Anderson Hall.
Excellent, excellent. Are you going to demonstrate something on the parallel bars or something like that?
I wish.
Okay. All right. Okay, I am now going to take over the screen, if I may. I think if I do this, it'll stop your sharing if it's still there. Okay, and we come to the last segment, final segment. Batting cleanup now is Audrey Whitecamp, our Vice President for Administration, spot that often is occupied by Mike Ostrom in a different capacity. And she's going to deal with things like questions and answers, talk about a bylaws committee, which is active right now, and she'll explain what's going on there, and then walk us through the election process that will take place at the Thursday monthly meeting in October. Did I say Thursday? The monthly meeting in October of the Residents' Council. And I have another meeting which is scheduled by somebody else right at 3 o'clock. So I am going to turn the gavel over to Audrey to give her report. She can say whatever she wants, but remember, Audrey, I'm having this recorded, so I'll find out later. She did something I didn't know we were going to do. And I will bid my adieu to everybody. Thanks to everybody who's participated. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in, watched, participated in one way or the other. And I look forward to having the opportunity to do this again next month. So I will leave and turn it over to Audrey. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll take the screen share off because you know what you want to say.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Goodbye. Whoops. We have Sue here, but not me. Let's see what we can do about it. I'll go ahead and start talking and see if my picture shows up. At least on my screen, it doesn't. Now that Peter is out of the way, I can change the order. I'm going to talk about the election first and the bylaws, and I'm going to end up with some happy news with a question from a resident. So I'm going to talk about the election first. Dick talked about him, but he got one part wrong, and that is nominations from the floor are welcome. But because we will be doing it by Zoom, I need to know ahead of time if you are nominating somebody from the floor, if you wish to do that, or if you wish to nominate yourself. So please call me at least a week ahead of time so that we can enable that the nominee from the floor and the person nominating them so that their voice can be heard on the Zoom. Everybody, the slate recommended by the nominating committee and any nominees from the floor will each get a chance to introduce themselves. And we're going to limit it to 2 minutes. Just let us know who you are, why you are anxious to be on the council. For me, when I was asked to be on the council, I agreed because I thought Horizon House worked so well, and I wanted to know more about how it worked. And let me tell you, when you're on the council, you get to know. Because the meeting is, if it's Zoomed, balloting will have to be written ballots. And that's one of the reasons I want to know the nominees from the floor a week ahead, so that when we print the ballots, we'll have their names on it. We will distribute the ballots in your cubby in the mail room. And you will have 24 hours to vote. There will be Some of you, I think, remember last year when we voted, there'll be special boxes, one in the mail room and a couple elsewhere. All these details will be in the alert ahead of time. The election results will be announced at the November meeting. So remember, if you want to nominate yourself, nominate a friend from the floor, make sure that you get their permission, and then let me know so that I can make the arrangements to include them. Now let me turn to bylaws. The bylaw committee is meeting Thursday. If you have something that you think should be amended or clarified in the bylaws or the policies, please call me or call Susan Jones or Beth Davis, or send us an email before Thursday at 10:30. We will be presenting any changes that we are suggesting at the next meeting. If you aren't sure what's in the bylaws, bylaws and policies, go to HH Connect down in the right-hand corner under Resident Council Resources. You can see the bylaws, you can see the policies, or if you want to read them, there's a white binder at the right-hand end of the window in the library, and you will see the copies there. Now I'm going to finish up with a very happy thing. I love getting questions from you residents. Then I try and find the person on the staff who can answer. Sometimes I get kind of wishy-washy answers. Oh, it's in the master plan, or we're working on it, and so forth. I got one question this time that I got a positive answer, and this is what it is. All you swimmers are going to be pleased. The question from the resident was, why is the temperature in the swimming pool changing room so cold? It's even colder than the room with the pool. The official answer is from Sean McMahon, chief engineer. And he explained to me that there are two different heating systems. The pool is on one heating system, the changing room is on another. For some reason, the changing room, but not the pool, has air conditioning if necessary. So he said, somebody thinks it's not warm enough. Well, I can change it. And so he said it's set at 72 now. He's setting it to 74. And if you still think it's too cold, let me know or let Sean know. And he promised to look into it. So on that happy note, in 2 minutes early, I am adjourned.